Tremendous cute, tremendous cute, tremendous cute.
Who's your favorite Pitmaster's favorite Pitmaster?
What's going on, Tremendous Q fans? It's your boy here, Wade Morris, owner Pitmaster Tremendous Q. And I'm back, but today we got sort of a different video. So I've been getting a lot of questions about street vending. Basically how I got into it, why I decided to do it, how I chose a location, what are some tips and pointers in order to get started, so on and so forth. So today, rather than a cooking video, like I said, this channel is all about all things barbecue. So today, I'm basically going to give you guys a couple of tips and pointers and basically the things that I kind of kept in mind when I was going ahead to get started, as well as a couple of things that the wife told me to kind of keep in mind as well. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We don't want to drag this thing out. So the first thing that I said when you want to start street vending is know your competition. Okay, so you don't just want to jump right into this thing. If there's a lot of fish in the pond, depending on where you're at, then you want to know who else is out there, what kind of establishments they are. Are they street vendors? Are they guys that got food trucks? Are they guys that go to fairs a lot? Are they guys that pretty much only cook at barbecue competitions? Are they guys that have full of brick and mortar establishments? So you want to know your competition. So get out there, basically go around all these different joints, try some of the food that they offer, and then see how their establishments are set up. You know what I'm saying? See what their prices are like, see what all they offer, see what all comes with whatever it is that they are selling. So if they offer a plate, what comes with that plate? Do you get multiple meats? Do you get combos? Do you get any free drinks, utensils? Like what are the other barbecue establishments in and around your area doing? Because at the very least, if they're up and they're still around and they've been around for a while, they've probably figured out a couple of secrets to the success. All right, so that's tip number one. Tip number two is take your time. Okay, so you're probably going to want to get started right away. You're going to be like, man, I got my pit, I got my product, I got a whole bunch of friends and family telling me that I got the best barbecue around. But what I want you guys to do is kind of just take it like Midas, pump the brakes. All right, sit back. You don't have to necessarily write out a plan, but think out a plan. All right, because the first time that you get out there, it's probably going to be hectic. You might forget a few things. People are going to stop by. You know, folks who are nice are going to have usually some good feedback, some constructive criticism. We're going to be like, hey, maybe you should offer this along with this, or maybe you should check out doing it like this or doing it over here, so on and so forth. So take your time, establish some sort of a plan, kind of where you want to go, how you want to set up, what kind of food you want to offer, how much food you want to offer. Think about those kinds of things and establish that, basically establish sort of a roadmap. Set small, short, medium and long-term goals. You know, I'm military, so we love talking about that 5 meter, 50 meter and 100 meter target. All right, so you know, you want to set that 5 meter target so that you can go ahead and continue to see progress, and then you know your 50 and your 100 meter targets, those, all your shorter term targets are always working towards your long-term targets. All right, so that's tip number two. Tip number three is be consistent. All right, so once you do actually decide to get out there, what I found is, as far as establishing a business base, consistency is key. You want to be consistent with the product that you put out. You want to be consistent with when you put it out, and you want to be consistent with where you put it out. All right, the easiest way to lose a business base is for folks to have to try to find you. All right, so you want to establish yourself on multiple social media outlets. You know, they're all free: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I don't have all of those. I pretty much stick to Instagram and Facebook, but you want to be consistent. Make sure folks know how to find you, they know where to find you, and they know when to find you. Okay, and then obviously the food. If your food is different every single time, as far as the quality goes, then people, if they may like it one time and they don't like it the second time, you know, they might be a little wishy-washy or iffy about whether or not they want to come back and spend their money on you. Because at the end of the day, that's all you're trying to do. You're selling your product. So you need to make sure that the first bite, the third bite, and the 300th bite all taste the exact same, or if anything, they taste better than they did the last time. All right. Lastly, fourth is don't waste money on paid websites or advertising. Okay, so I kind of touched on this a little bit in the be consistent. So Facebook and Instagram are the two social media websites that I use most often, and they're free. And I can't stress enough how well they work for somebody with small business. And for me, because I'm really trying to let barbecue kind of build upon itself rather than using personal money or the money that I make from my actual job. That kind of got me started, but now that I've sort of established myself, rather than use personal money to go ahead and continue to pay for things like business cards and more firewood and meat and anything that I need for actual barbecue. I try to keep my costs down as low as I possibly can. All right, so free websites like Instagram and Facebook are great. Facebook, you can essentially establish like a whole website through the a Facebook page. All right, so now you got people coming to the page. They can leave reviews. They can see menus. You can leave short little videos for them, and YouTube as well. YouTube, like this channel that I got here, is a great way for folks to get to know the people behind the scenes. All right, so people in this case is pretty much me. I may get the wife on here one day, but for the most part, as far as the cooking and the barbecue goes, it's me and it's behind the scenes. But doing things like this on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, putting your product out there, letting people see what you got going on. So free social media sites like that, I cannot stress enough how important they are. And then eventually one day you'll decide, all right, hey, it may be time for me to start looking into a paid website. And again, just go back, take your time, do your research, and figure out what it is that you think that you need a website for. Is it for ordering, or is it just for establishing sort of a blog, or do you really want to kind of do a combination, or are you looking to kind of expand and maybe going to doing it full time? So those are some of the things to consider when you start thinking about some of the choices you're going to make with this with respect to expenses, so on and so forth. All right, so tip number 5 is get a chip reader. Okay, I cannot stress enough how important it is that you all have a chip reader, and I don't care what basically payment system you use. I use PayPal personally. I know that there's a Square out there as well. Both PayPal and Square come with the free little reader that you can get in the mail, or you can go to Best Buy and for the Square, I believe, and you can actually buy that. There may be some sort of a refund. I can't remember off the top of my head. Me personally, I use PayPal, so I'll actually show you all at the end of the video a picture of the PayPal chip readers that I have. But you need a chip reader, and the primary reason you need one is because today and age, when a lot of these cards have chips in them, a lot of people are uncomfortable basically swiping their card, is what I found out. Out the gate, I didn't have the chip reader. I had the little slider, and some folks, I legitimately lost some business because people said, hey, I'm not comfortable sliding my card. I would prefer to use my chips. So. And then a lot of people still carry cash, but you'll find a lot of people don't. All right, so you're just better off having a chip reader and having the ability to accept multiple forms of payment. All right. While we're on the topic of multiple forms of payment, strongly advise you guys not taking personal checks. I do not take personal checks. Most businesses, establishments do not take personal checks. I don't know why anybody would use a cashier's check to pay for any sort of street vending, since that's what we're talking about. But yeah, don't advise taking personal checks. All right. Next, number 6 is ask for help. So that's probably one of the biggest issues that I have. I'm working on delegating. That's just a personal. It's just one of my weaknesses. I say is I don't necessarily. Well, I guess I have to say I do kind of hog work. All right, so you need to learn to ask for help, and you need to learn to delegate. All right, so my wife is wonderful. She comes out here. She helps me out on the street. She helps me vend. Obviously, we always got the midgets with us, so they're usually out there. She's wrangling them and taking orders and bagging up plates while I'm cutting meat and helping getting the sides together. So it's a whole lot of work, and no matter where you're at, you're definitely going to want to have help. All right, so I would strongly recommend trying to, if you're going to do street vending, that you at least want to have 3 people out there. You got somebody to take orders and bag at the end, so they're kind of on the front and the back end. You got somebody to help prepare the meats and get the plates basically get the plates built, and then you got somebody to sort of help with the money. And the reason with the money is you don't want to be touching food and then going back and touching money. And if you do that, then you gotta, you're always swapping gloves out, and so you're kind of wasting resources there. So you kind of want somebody whose hands are always clean. Then you got somebody who's kind of like the face, and then you have somebody who's handling the meat. They know what portion sizes to give, and they know how to make sure that the plates are put together so that they're presentable. And then when folks open them up, they don't get a mess in their lap. All right. So make sure you ask for help. And then another thing that they can help with is setting up and tear down. If you're in a community where the high schools have volunteer hours, that's a great way to go and get basically free help. You could pay kids either by a couple of plates, or you could throw them a few dollars if you're making good enough money. But asking for help is probably one of the biggest suggestions that I could have, because you're going to get really tired really fast. All right. Number 7, this was a big one, and this was from the wife. So when I first got started, man, I had huge dreams. I was like, man, I'm finna go to the sky with this thing. We're gonna get out there. We're gonna serve 13 briskets, 20 slabs of ribs, and 15 pounds of chicken. And the wife was like, have you lost your damn mind? No. She was like, no, you need to scale it back. She was like, if anything, start off small and sell out. She's like, nothing says you got good product like putting on a website or putting on Instagram, hey, folks, we're sold out. So, and she was right. Out the gate, the first time we did this, we were out there for about 6.5 hours before we sold out all the food. By the last time I did it, which was 2 months ago, because my current job right now is just, it was the end of the fiscal year, so I just don't have time to basically manage my first Sundays right now. But after about 10 months, so between the first month and the 10th month, when we got out there on first Sundays, it took me about 6 hours to sell out. I was down to about right under 2 hours. Usually about 1.5 hours we started packing up, and then those last 30 minutes we would get a few stragglers come in, and I would sell out all my plates. All right. I started, and the funny thing is, the first time I went out there, I only had one brisket, and I think about 4 slabs of ribs and 5 pieces of chicken. And it took 6 hours to sell that much food. By the time we finished, we were selling close to 3 briskets, 6 slabs of ribs, 6 turkey legs, 2 sausages, and anywhere between 10 to 15 pieces of chicken. So I was doing that in under 2 hours. So you could just imagine how fast people were coming through. All right, so I'll show you guys a picture at the end of the video of kind of basically what my pit looked like full up before we started selling. So you guys can see about how much food I would sell. But the important thing was just consistency. People always knew I'd be out there first Sunday. People always knew I would start selling at 11, and they always knew what food I have, and most importantly, they always knew that my product was consistently good. All right, so that is when you first start out, whatever it is that you think you want to sell, take that number, half it, and then go out there, sell out, and then the next time you come out, folks will start to, after the second, the third, and the fourth time, if you're consistent, then people will start to know when and where you are, and then you can start selling a little bit more product. If it's to the point where you're out there for only 30 minutes because you sell out so fast, then go ahead and start selling a little bit more product. But there is no worse feeling. I've only had to do this one time, and I did this with pulled pork, and it was when I realized that folks like pork, but pulled pork isn't necessarily, at least in my area, it's not necessarily what people want. They like their ribs, primarily spare ribs, and then a few baby backs as well. But I've only done it one time. I took home a pan of pulled pork, and while we did make enough money, I didn't lose any money on the vending. It still kind of sucked bringing food home. So it's a lot better feeling to sell out than it is to have to bring food home. Right. So always be conservative out the gate, and bring products and supplies that you don't even think that you're going to need out the gate. And then after 2 or 3 times, you'll start to realize, all right, you establish kind of maybe a mental checklist. And you be like, all right, hey, I do need this, I don't need that, and then go from there. All right. So number 8, this is a kind of an interesting one. Barbecue, the smell of barbecue is intoxicating to most people, man. I mean, they know what the smell is. Even without seeing it, they know what that smell is. So if you can choose a spot that is upwind from where there's going to be a lot of foot traffic, then what'll happen is the barbecue will kind of help advertise itself, because people will be downwind from the smoke coming from your pit, and they'll be like, oh man, what is that? It smells really good. And if you get out there shortly before lunchtime, people are already starting to get hungry. They might have been out there running some errands now, or they might have been at work all day. They're out there heading to their car, and You know, they might be feeling Chinese food or Hispanic food or I don't know, Indian. Then they smell that barbecue and they're like, hey, you know, maybe I want a little barbecue. So I thought that was pretty cool. It actually worked out really well for me being upwind. So number 9 is you don't need to sell a buffet. All right. So I pretty much started out with like 2 proteins and probably 3 sides. I still only get served 3 sides, but I'm up to like, I think I mentioned like 5 or 6 proteins. But the important thing is, you know, especially with the size, most people are coming for the protein. All right. So your turkey, your pork, your brisket, you don't need to get out there and sell a whole buffet. All right. Keep it simple. Because you want to get people through. You want to get people get people through quickly, and you don't want them sitting there staring at a menu trying to figure out what it is that they want. So if you can offer a combo plate, so maybe 2 meats and 1 plate, or if you want to offer maybe, I don't know, you know, pick your own combo, offer something like that. But basically what you want to do is you keep the choices limited. That way folks aren't standing out there all day trying to figure out what it is that they want. All right, and number 10 is have fun. All right, it's probably the most important of the 10 tips. Okay, you want to have fun. All right, barbecue, no matter what you're doing, whether it's competitive, street vending, catering, barbecue is a ton of work. All right, so you want to make sure that you're in it for the right reasons. That way you don't waste all this money that you got invested into this thing. There's a lot of money into the equipment, there's a lot of money into your pits, you know, and then you're continuously buying spices, food, so on and so forth, not to mention the amount of time and effort that it takes. So just make sure that barbecue is always fun for you. All right, and that's the reason that I keep doing it. So excuse me, I basically got into it because the wife said I was dipping into her purse fund, so we needed to find a way for barbecue to basically financially support itself. So I started getting into the commercial end of it so I could pay for my competitions, which are anywhere between $600 to $900 a pop. So when you start getting that kind of money on a routine basis, once or twice a month, depending on how many contests you do, sometimes it could be more, then you want to make sure that you're having fun along the way. And you know, that way when you see all that money going out the door, you kind of remember, hey, this is, you know, what are you doing it for? All right. Besides the people that are on a competition trail, you know, a ton of fun. So, but that's pretty much it, man. That kind of wraps up the 10 tips. So, having fun is definitely the most important, and the one that I say, no matter what you do, make sure that one is always numero uno. Okay. So anyway, that was basically a little bit different video. It was my 10 quick tips on street vending. You know, how to get out there and sell barbecue, selling plates as opposed to catering. I will get another one of these types of Q&A videos up on catering and instead of street vending. It's pretty much the same, but there's a few different things with respect to quantities and how much to serve, so on and so forth, how to plan for events. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. All right, if you did, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next video here at Tremendous Q's Cooking Channel. Shut up and smoke, and we'll see you guys later.